Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
The babies and babies. The babies and babies. The babies and babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
What's going on? How you doing over there? All right, there, Belichick. Calm down over there.
We're on to Philadelphia.
Are you? Because I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it better be quick. Better be real quick. Real quick. They're finding their groove.
Crowd's going to be something.
Fun. Yeah. Well, I'm used to that, unfortunately. I said this from the get-go. I'm like, it's going to take a couple of years. Like, the new ownership change isn't going to flip the season ticket base yet. So hopefully over some time they will. And then in a couple of years, we'll be back to making the stadium inaccessible again. But it already happened with Buffalo this year. Yeah. And so I'm not, I won't be surprised to see a lot of people in green. I gave my tickets to people who are wearing burgundy and gold as the usual. So
mine are still listed right now. So,
I'm like trying to come up with ways to believe that it will flip back the other way, which is a little, if you rewatch this Giants game, it's really hard to
trying to come up with some command tangibles over there.
Yeah, a few. It was Sam's worst game.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
The more I look back at it, the more I'm like, it wasn't very good for him.
Yeah, really. But at the same time, it is not like there was an offensive plan that was, put him in the best position to succeed, and the offensive line, and this is why people are freaking out because I think there's so much wrong you can't even analyze other positions.
This was not Nick Gates' best game.
Oh my God, Twitter lit him up over the weekend.
He had a rough one.
So yeah,
there were 2 sacks where 3 of our offensive linemen were beat on the same play. Okay, so that one, granted, like they're bringing 7.
We call that not ideal.
Wasn't no. It's pretty bad. Sam was more inaccurate. I mean, I'm starting to think like it's all catching up to him a little bit.
Yeah, it's up with Heineke last year.
Yeah, the hits,
Heineke was even
sacks. They're just coming, speed you up. He was, inaccurate on a couple of plays that he normally isn't. So I think like it's starting to. It happened a little bit in Atlanta too, where he like threw a couple passes where I'm like, oh, that's the first time I've seen him kind of miss like that.
Right.
And then. His clock needed to speed up again a couple of times. I do think he needed a little more support system around him, to help him out. I think it was all kind of a big, giant mess. Like, if Terry was like, we needed to run some other stuff. Sam was like, we kind of needed to maybe get away from the script. The lineman needed to block better. For sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Then there was some on him, too. Like, he missed some plays. Like, there was a 3rd and 5. He just missed Logan Thomas on it.
Yeah.
Just missed them. There was an earlier pass to Jahan Dotson that was just a miss. So it's on him too, and it was rough. Rough. It's a rough rewatch.
The problem is like if we were to do the blame pie gimmick, Sam
this
would
one's
be
hard. It always takes me to rewatching to get around to the blame pie.
Right, like Sam.
Yesterday I was a little on EB. Like where I was like,
I'm a lot on EB actually.
He gets a good share of it. After rewatching now, I'm a little more. The young quarterback that we're trying to develop had a rough one.
Okay, which same thing.
And a rough one.
You baked in 2 or 3 of those this year, so that's 2.
Yeah.
Right? Buffalo was the worst one.
Buffalo was bad.
Right.
Was he bad in that? I can't remember. I have to go back and look. Was he bad in that one?
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
He got fooled into a lot of things.
It was 3 picks against Buffalo.
3 picks. But, like, there are a couple of them were the ones where guys were standing where he was throwing the ball. And I'm like, you guys aren't fooling anybody, especially not them. They were standing where the ball was being thrown.
That one was timing, too, though, because he threw that one right before the half, too.
Yeah. Well, this one, like the Deonte Banks one this past weekend.
He had 4 against the Bills. That was his worst
He had 4 picks?
Yeah, he had 4.
He had the one to Gibson where the guy was his outlet. He was just standing there. Yeah. The one in the first half where the middle linebacker pointed to where he was going to run and did and stood there waiting for the ball. Yeah, that was pretty rough. Yeah. We are developing a young quarterback right now. I will hear everybody out, but that was your choice.
Yeah, of course.
That's the choice that you made.
Right, but as I said, too, and I've been harping now for a month, it feels like, where are all the rollouts to start the game? Where's a little more boot action? Where's a little more...
I think they should have... I felt this way going in, too, that they needed to help him out a little bit. We know what they're going to do. This is not going to be a surprise. They're going to blitz the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And I would, too.
Also,
because his pressure numbers, if you go look at him just metrically, his pressure numbers are not good. And this team pressures people a lot, and they did.
You also have a quarterback, and they did it a little bit with Heineke last year, where they would throw in an option here and there, and it would put the defense on tilt for a play or two.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen none of that this year.
They needed to help him out a little more. I agree. Like, the infrastructure around it wasn't
not great.
You know, where they are good is in the red zone. So I've kind of come around to, like, you need to, I think, like, get back to, can you move some of that inside the 20s, really? Because when they do get inside the red zone, I want to give EB credit. Like, it's not all bad. Like, actually, in the red zone, they've been very good. Very creative.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, they're executing too, but they're very creative.
Right.
And, you know, they've had walk-in touchdowns. Like, maybe the best run play of the game was in the red zone. The Robinson touchdown. If you go rewatch and watch the blocking scheme, and Logan Thomas is exactly where he's supposed to be in the hole and catches the backside linebacker, which opens up the hole even more. It was like probably the best run play they ran the whole game. Right. The best run play they ran the whole game was in the red zone. Like, they're actually very good executing down there. I think they're very creative. I think they're hard to figure down there. They get walk-ins. Like, I want to give it's not all bad. Like EB and company are really good in the red zone, which is that's situational football. Remember last year we couldn't score.
Yeah.
We get down there and couldn't score, kicking field goals. This was 1 for 3 this the other day. They scored the first time they got in there, which unfortunately was late in the third quarter. Actually, no, that's not true. Early in the third quarter because they got the muffed punt.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they scored. Second time they got down there was late in the third quarter at a blocked field goal.
Yep.
So they didn't execute to score, but they did have a blocked field goal. They should have had points on the board. It was a chip shot field goal. And then the third time was the end of the game where we don't know what would have happened.
Right.
Dotson catches the ball. But when you play on the razor's edge, this stuff happens.
Yeah, of course.
You have no room for error is the problem, which is why, like, I'm glad to hear today people aren't freaking out on Dotson because he needed to make that catch at a critical time. I think he knows that. I think his quote after the game was, "This one hurts and it's going to hurt and it should hurt."
Yeah, I think
and you know what?
I think it was
like
Mitch Tischler that tweeted out like teams were all meeting at midfield once the final whistle blew, and he was still kneeling in the same exact spot that he dropped the ball.
He dropped the ball.
He was
he was upset.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, yes, he needs to make those plays, but not unlike last year against the Giants, like where the calls went against them. Like, right? This is what happens when you're on the razor's edge. Everything's got to go right at the end of a game or else you lose.
Yeah.
And like that last year was out of their control because they made the ridiculous penalty on McLaurin and the ridiculous no call on Samuel, but they still only had 12 points at that point. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a little on you. Like, you put yourself in this position by having 12 points. They had 7 points when they got down to the point where they needed Jahan to make that catch, which is why I'm actually glad I don't hear people dumping on him today because he needed to make that play. He didn't. It's very easy for everyone to just, mob scene on somebody when they needed it. But I think we all are educated enough to know that the first half was terrible. There's a lot of reasons why they didn't score a lot of points. And you scored 7 points against one of the metrically worst defenses in the league this year. That's kind of on you. So one drop, I'm not going to scream at the guy for the one drop.
There are a few times where Commander's Twitter has been in lockstep. When he dropped that, almost everyone in unison was like, that should have never had to have been the play of the game anyway. So everyone was pretty fast on like, well, that sucks. We shouldn't have even been in that position, to be completely honest.
It's nuts. So. I mean, he's the one that made the catch in Philadelphia to tie the game.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
probably should have made the 2-point conversion catch had they gone for it.
Well, probably should have.
He made the catch, and it was just a pitch and catch, but they went for it on a 4th and 1.
Yep. Right.
And he's the one that made the catch on that. Granted, that was a crazy call, by the way. Yep. They sprint out 4th and 1 with Howell, and fortunately, the Giants did not cover Dotson. Otherwise, that would have been real bad.
Oh, I mean,
listen, what am I complaining about it? It worked, and the dude was wide open, so they had the right call. Let's give it to him.
Yeah, right.
So,
like I said, I don't think anyone's on Dotson too because they know something's up. I mean, they just know the scheme isn't good enough for a receiver like that.
His numbers are so down. He doesn't even have 200 yards receiving yet. 7 games.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Like, they haven't unlocked him. Robinson doesn't get a lot of carries. I got to tell you, I mean, after watching this one, he wasn't great.
Okay.
In this one either.
Right.
That said, like, I don't know. Like, every time if you just give the top running back like 6 to 8 carries a game, what do you expect? Like, that means, so every one of them needs to be a home run or else you don't give them the ball?
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot here. There's a lot going on here, but I do, in looking back, the line got jumped for sure. And I am more inclined to believe that they really got Hal this time. He was off. They were also very jumpy. They had a number of procedural penalties. Yep. They had some bad holding calls. This was a team loss. And then the defense, it was a good quarter and a half where they couldn't stop the Giants. They're actually very lucky that they weren't down by more.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
They couldn't stop them.
Yeah, the first half was abysmal. Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary.
No. Nope.
And
there was no trick plays.
They're actually kind of lucky too. That Tyrod only ran it one time, really, for like a dagger type run where he ran it up the middle, and it was a sick run. Like, that's going to happen. But I thought the Giants were just going to scheme that up because, honestly, who's he throwing to? Their wide receivers don't scare me.
Yeah.
Waller's their best pass catcher.
The only thing I can only just turn to and hope that things will change is, one, it's sports. Two, it's the NFL. Teams flip around fast. Three, I watched Monday Night Football last night.
Yeah. Right.
And Brock Purdy looks normal now. At least 2 weeks in a row.
Fourth quarter, he looked normal. He had a pretty good game up until that point.
Pretty good. He threw 2 picks on the last couple of drives. The last one was bad.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
Yep.
The one before it looks really bad. Something's up with that route, though, so I don't want to kill him over it, but something was wrong with that route. I think that guy didn't break
He's
early
the king
enough.
of throwing the ball where the guy's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. So, so the last one was bad. The last one was really bad. They still ended up with 17 points. The Vikings, I think more surprising would be the defensive output by them.
Yes.
Because Justin Jefferson didn't play. This guy, Jordan Addison, looked great. Then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And late in the game, couldn't stop them.
Yep.
Couldn't stop him.
He looked like Jefferson. That was the craziest part.
I mean, who's he throwing the ball to now?
Yeah, Kirk just kept going to him.
Kirk was great last night.
Yeah, he was really good.
Like, really good. I think the quarterback show did 2 things. It upped his stock. It upped Brittany Mahomes' stock. But it upped his stock. I think he got less nerd, more real.
Yeah,
like he embraced I know I'm a nerd.
Right.
I know you think I'm a nerd. I actually don't care that you think I'm a nerd. I showed you that by doing chains on planes. I was making fun of myself. He's killing it. Like, it's not his fault. I said this from the get-go. If they wanted to tank, which they clearly don't, but if they wanted to, they needed to trade him before the season. Mm-hmm. He's too good for that. He's going to win them games. He won them a game last night with a very average set of skill position players because his best one was out. Hawkinson was going in and out. Addison looks very good, but he's a rookie. He's now their number 1. They don't have a great running game. They don't even have a great line. And they had, 450 yards of offense, maybe more?
Right.
Kirk's a good player. And then I saw everyone dump it on Aikman where he goes, I think he's a top 10 quarterback. This year he is.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, that's controversial in any way whatsoever.
Not controversial at all.
It's not.
I couldn't help but think, did Kyle sitting on the other sideline go like, can he just get on the plane with us? What do you guys want for that guy? Because that would put them over the edge.
Like, I saw so many people retweet after Aikman said this, he's top 10 to me. And everybody was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. Do you know he's the number 2 quarterback in the NFL right now?
Well, I knew because of the yards in the first month of the season. He was on pace to shatter the record. Yeah. 2,057
yards. His completion percentage is 69%.
Nice.
He's thrown 16 touchdowns, most in the NFL, 5 interceptions, fewer than Mahomes, Stafford, Tua, Allen. He's got a quarterback rating of 101. If their team had a better record, he'd be up for MVP right now.
Probably, yeah.
And in fact, if they do turn their season around, because someone said something about their schedule, is kind of open to, it's a possibility that they could kind of get on a run here. Don't think that's not too nuts.
Well, yeah, their division's still winnable. That's the funny part.
Very winnable. Yeah, here's their schedule. They're at Green Bay, who looks like a mess.
Yep.
Then they're at the Falcons. We'll see.
Yeah.
Then they get the Saints at home. We'll see.
Can't score, yeah.
Then they're at the Broncos. Mm-hmm. Then they get the Bears at home. Then they get the Raiders on the road.
They should be favored in every single one of those games.
Yeah. It'll be very telling if they're not in Green Bay this week. That'll be very telling.
I'd agree, but they should be favored.
Because I think they should be favored.
Yeah.
But if they're not favored in Atlanta, I'll hear that one out.
Right.
But at home against the Saints, at Packers, at Broncos versus Bears, they should be favored in every single one of those games.
Agreed.
So they could turn things around here. And if they do, and they're in line to potentially win the division or be a wild card, he's going to be an MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10's controversial. How?
I still wonder what the Niners.
How?
I still wonder what the Niners would give up for him.
Now?
Yeah.
Right now. We're out of Purdy.
Well, that's what
we're out of the Purdy
business.
business.
I was saying last night. Like, do you think Kyle was like, how much would it cost to just let him get on the plane with us on the way back?
You think they trade him Purdy back? You want Purdy back?
Maybe.
Probably.
They'd probably give him Purdy.
Yeah, and then he can play out for the rest of the season with them, and they don't owe him anything anyway.
Right.
And they're going to go draft somebody else. I said this for months. If the Vikings wanted to get in the top part of the draft, they needed to trade Kirk Cousins now. He's too good.
Right.
He's too good. They'll win too many games with him. Maybe they want to be a playoff team. I don't know. I don't think their defense is very good, but last night seemed fine.
They schemed it up really well last night.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was uncharacteristic. McCaffrey had a fumble. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
There was a couple turnovers to start that game. So.
Yep. Let's see. On the trade deadline stuff.
Yeah.
So a couple things came out about that one. Let's start with ours, and then I'll get to the Cowboys. Well, let's do Jerry first, actually. He's funny.
Jera.
So he goes on his weekly radio show hit.
Well, he does both stations down there.
Yeah. He talked to everybody.
Doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He likes it. Well, he's good at it.
I ain't got time to jack with you.
Yeah, he's good at it. He's good at it. If he wanted to run for president 20 years ago, I think he could have pulled it off.
What's stopping him
now?
now?
He's that kind of talker.
What's stopping him now?
Well, he's an entertainer. He understands.
He's old
good
enough.
at it. That's true.
What's
He'd
stopping
probably
him?
be the youngest of the three. I don't know how old he is.
He looks like a president.
Yeah. They'll show that picture of him like Donald Trump had to grab him in the you-know-whats. He's got the picture in that bathroom stall. Everybody knows about the party bus at the combine.
I will say this, too. Jera is like an American stereotype, too. He would be a president that would look like the country.
I don't want to see him do a press conference in Helsinki. I don't think that would be his wheelhouse.
America is the best country in the world.
Yeah.
He would just go full patriotic.
It's my friend Vladimir. I don't think it would go very well.
Both of us went a little McConaughey there. I mean, there's a little bit of it. There's a little bit there, but
yeah, there's a little more. There's a different kind of twang and an older voice.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. He went on. 105.3 in Dallas and said, do you plan on initiating talks with other teams for the trade deadline? And he said, it'll have to come our way. I don't want to preclude it in any way, but it always does. The initiation of an opportunity to make a trade that would help us principally has to start over on the other end. He's saying one thing we already know. They're not trading people off.
Yeah,
Why would they?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
They have a chance to take a deep run in the playoffs. Would they? He's saying, if you want us to be interested in one of your players, you need to call us.
That's weird.
It's a weird way of saying
Howie Roseman's like, okay, pal, you do that. Because go look at what we do. The Eagles
called
are like
the Titans yesterday and got an all-pro safety
That's
here.
Right. He goes, I've gotten an all-pro safety, cornerback, running back, all in the last 2 years.
It's unbelievable. Tennessee.
They got the safety, Slay, Swift. Who am I missing? I'm missing someone else, too, that they did a trade.
This is now two front offices that did this, because the previous front office in Tennessee that traded him A.J. Brown,
that's the other one I'm missing. That's what I'm missing.
Which is the worst thing that happened to our division in a long time.
Yes, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
That has ended up becoming one of the most lopsided things I've ever seen.
Right.
And
here it is. A.J. Brown for a first and a third.
Yep.
Darius Slay for a third and a fifth.
Yeah.
The safety for a fifth and a sixth, and Terrell Edmonds.
Right.
And then Swift for a fourth and a seventh round swap.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically traded.
I mean, the fourth round pick for Swift is actually in this market an overpayment for what is a above average running back, not a McCaffrey or a Saquon or something like that.
But they actually did it.
They did it.
Right. Like we've been saying for 2 years, the Bills should have been getting.
You should do these
one
things.
of these guys, and they haven't.
Yeah. I am envious of the way that they run things because they just go for it.
Correct.
They don't think about the ramifications of it. They just go for it. And they're like, we know what we're getting here.
Right. Exactly.
Like, we know what we're getting here. Said Jerry on his team, I like where we are with our personnel today. I'm not thinking in any way that we need to upgrade our roster. I would really extend to improve our team right now, but I think we have a team that is a contender, so I would do it this way. And he described it as we're laying in wait. If you come to us with an opportunity for a player we think could help us, we would talk to you about it, which is a ridiculous way of saying, like, because normally it's the other way around. Someone, I'm sure plenty of teams are calling the Commanders over the last couple of weeks going, what's it going to be, Sweat or Young? Which one's it going to be?
Right, yeah.
I guarantee you there's probably 20 teams that have done that and gone, and it's up to the Commanders whether they field the calls or show any interest whatsoever. I've gotten no information that they have, but it's logical.
Of course.
I don't think that the other way around is for them to call everybody and go, hey, you like Chase Young?
Yeah, right.
I don't think it works that way.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it works that way. So it sounds like they're not in any rush to do anything, even though I think they should get a running back, personally.
Right. Yeah.
Whoever's available.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's good, is available, is on a bad team. They want to just dump the salary, like move on. They're not going to re-sign him because nobody gives running backs money, whatever.
I'm surprised Dalvin Cook's name hasn't been out there for that.
Yeah, because Breece Hall's back and Cook doesn't really even play that much.
Right, and he's not making too much, if I remember correctly. They signed him
I thought
late.
He should have gone there in the first place.
Right.
I thought that was the right place for him to go in the first place.
Right, so I'm surprised his name just hasn't been out there because they don't need him anymore.
I wonder if Derrick Henry works for them. I can't really figure that out. I'm not sure.
That screams to me a player that, even though running backs are super disposable, that they kind of want to just hold on to.
Well, I think they tried to trade him.
Okay.
I mean, Byard is going to go up in their ring of honor. He's that kind of player for them.
Right.
So they've already signaled here that we're willing to move away from older players that make real money, that are legends for us. I know, nationally, I don't think a lot of people know him, but he's played there a long time. And he's he's a all-pro, multiple Pro Bowler, really, really good player, which sucks that the Eagles got him.
Of course they did.
There's a second front office in Tennessee that sends them Pro Bowl, borderline Hall of Fame caliber players that can still play. The A.J. Brown trade is one of the worst things that's ever happened to the NFC East.
Yes.
It's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't want to pay him.
They didn't want to pay him. So then the Eagles got him.
They didn't want to pay him. And then I watch him and I go, what receiver's better than him?
Right.
Who do you want to pay? If you don't want to pay him, who do you want to pay?
What are you doing here?
Right. It's just the going rate. You either want to give it to him or you don't. And if you don't want to give it to him, who do you think is better, actually?
What do you mean you don't want to sign Adley Rushman or Gunnar Henderson?
That's right.
Who else do you want?
Who do you want then? Right? If you don't think they're good enough to warrant a market contract, who do you want to pay? Oh, nobody. At least you're being honest about it.
What do you mean you don't want to sign Trey Turner or Juan Soto?
That's right. What do you mean
Who
you
else
don't
do you
want
want
to do?
then?
Right. You don't want Trey Turner? He's been really good. You don't want him? Oh, you don't want to sign him? Okay, fine.
What's he doing lately?
Yeah. No kidding.
What about Schwarber? What about Bryce Harper?
I don't. Now you're in my boat. It took you a year and a half to figure it out.
I'm not, because that Turner.
You were such a homer for them. You took you a year and a half to figure out that I've been right about what's going on here for a couple of years with them.
I still believe Turner's contract's going to look terrible in 2 years. It's going to
Everybody's the Rendon one. I don't forget the way it's worked out, which is ridiculous. Even at the time, I was like, "There's no chance on earth I would give him the type of contract that's going to happen to him."
Right.
I'm okay with that. Soto. Come on.
Well, there's only one postseason run left with him.
Only one. Harper. Come on.
Harper, they tried, though. Remember that.
They did with their cockamamie structure.
50-year-old deferred payments.
Trey Turner, that one makes no sense. They didn't even try with him.
Right.
They tried to go Kirk with him. Correct. They tried to give him Kurt. Travis Turner. They tried to go Travis Turner with him.
Kurt Turner.
Kurt Turner. They tried to would you take $3 million a year for 28 years? We'll give it to you.
Right.
And he's like, no. Anyway, all right, back to us, because I don't think we spent a lot of time really talking about this yesterday. But Rivera said during his press conference yesterday, the Monday one, that they're not trading people. He said that.
Yeah, he said that.
I mean,
he's not the owner, though.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because what's he going to say? He can't be like, guys, this isn't working out very well right now. I think we're going to trade off some people who have a lot of expiring contracts. Well, you can't tank out.
Correct.
And explain that that's your vision. So I wanted to point, he did say it, and it wasn't asked about it. He just said, we're not firing a bunch of people, we're not trading a bunch of people, but I will take him literally, and also because it logically makes sense that he literally can't do that, because he'd be signaling his team is messed up if he actually did that.
Right.
This is where we get to, when will we hear smoke signals from the new ownership about how they feel about the product on the field? And we may not.
Sure.
It is possible that they will just let it play out.
Right.
And then if it goes sideways in December, maybe they do something. And if they remain competitive, because they are, I know nobody wants to hear this part, 3-4. I know nobody wants to hear that, but they are, if they were to win this weekend, would be 500 as we start basically the second half of the season. So I know nobody wants to hear that, but it's the facts. It's not fake news. It's real.
It's the fact, though, how they're at 3-4, though.
I agree.
Don't get it twisted.
I know.
There's not a single good win that they've had.
Listen, I hear you, but I will tell you, I am a little surprised about a lot of results lately. I thought the Bills were going to kill the Patriots the other day.
Yeah.
I am surprised San Francisco lost last night and have lost 2 weeks in a row. So I don't pretend to know anymore. I don't know nothing. So I would like to optimistically believe that it is possible, considering they almost beat this team the first time they played them, that, I don't know, maybe they got a shot on Sunday. And if they were to somehow pull that off, they're 4-4, and then Ron's having a very different conversation with Scott on the Zoom on Monday. But I'm waiting for, this week to me is, do we get the smoke signals about how they feel about everything? What would happen if they were to lose? Because the trade deadline is next Tuesday.
Yep.
So the decisions will have to be made. If you're going to trade one of those defensive ends, you got to do it in the next week.
Well,
so are we going to hear the smoke signals of what's on the line or how they're thinking? And I don't know, because I could go either way. They could just say, we're going to let it play out. But with both of them on expiring contracts and a lot of other expiring contracts, it would only make sense to me that they would give some consideration to all options. The question is, will we hear about it from their point of view, and how we'll hear about it from them?
The other part of this, too, is they could go full NHL. You get to game day on Sunday, and one of them isn't playing.
That's possible, too. I think
I think that's something worth watching, because if they think
I haven't heard from them yet what it is, but I also don't know their management style.
Sure. Yeah, no, of course. But I just think
this already could be happening. They just may be saying nothing.
Imagine
I don't know.
Let's say, just for example, on Sunday, they've got 3 teams that are interested in Chase Young. Not only trading for him, but extending him. Yeah. So it's like a foregone conclusion. Somebody's going to get him. If it comes out that one of them's inactive, oh boy, that could be the beginning of it all starting to crater. Yeah.
Yeah. If that happens. Well, it's also, but I said this yesterday, and I want to reiterate this. If they do go this direction, it does undermine Rivera's opportunity to turn the team around, and also sets in motion the inevitable, which they have to think through. All of these are complicated. Do you not take advantage of your assets if you don't think you're going to get there for whoever may be making the decisions in the future? Sure. Do you undermine a coach, even if they're 3-5? Do you undermine him now by doing it? Right. I don't know. Yep. They got tough decisions to make.
Yes, they do.
I will take a quick break. The other thing I spent no time talking about yesterday, but I want to review now, is Jon Allen in the locker room, and just have a little conversation about it. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. I have not really weighed in too much on Jon Allen because, I don't know, people get frustrated and they say things.
Well, and I said yesterday, then I'll reiterate it. He's baked in for one of those a year. He chooses his spot normally to go off. He did a few times last year. One of them last year, remember?
Not like that, though. This was a little beyond. He went on the Junkies last year when it was a slow start.
Yeah.
And he said, save that energy for when we get good.
Yeah, right.
Which is a different take. This take is, I'm sick of what we're doing here. And that's why I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because, everybody gets frustrated. I was very frustrated the other day. Everybody's very frustrated. Rivera even said something. I wrote it down. Hold on. Let me read.
He was talking about being frustrated with the fans, I think.
He said, he goes, he said something, I don't want to get it wrong, but he said something to the effect of, there are a lot of things I'd want to say to you that I can't say. We're all frustrated. To the media.
Yeah.
And which I wrote down, why can't you say what you want to say to the media?
Right, because you say everything else. So, I mean.
Right. It's just going to come out in an Albert Breer article in 6 months anyway. If I'm thinking about it, I'm going, and I'm listing in my head, what are the things you can't tell me? Injuries, sure. Get it?
Right.
How you're going to schematically attack a team, sure. Totally get it. Contracts, if you're in negotiations or not. Fine.
Conversations with ownership.
Okay, sure. What about the frustration level can you not say to us?
Right.
What can you not tell us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And maybe some of that is tied up in all of that other stuff.
Maybe.
Not the injury part, but like the maybe conversations with ownership or previous ownership for that matter, because some of the situation that they're in as they head to the trade deadline is a little out of his control. Like, I said this for months, how many expiring contracts they have of prominent players who are starters. Right. I said, that's tinderbox.
Right. Correct.
For a lot of reasons. And for him, like, some of it might have been, there wasn't anything I could do about it. I had no authority to sign any of these people because the owner was outgoing and wasn't going to commit all this money.
Sure.
And the new owners didn't own the team until July.
Right. You couldn't have this conversation.
Correct. Even they lasted through the summer. Remember? He had talked about there's some things we'd like to do that never got done.
Yeah, right.
Because the new ownership probably said we'd like to play out the year.
Sure.
And he, I'm sure, told them they're all going to be free agents and you got one franchise tag. I just want to let you know that. So you may lose guys, and they, it sounds as if they're going, we want to see from the sideline here, and we'll take that risk.
Sure.
Which I get. I'll hear every angle of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Allen's comments were a little different than they have been in the past. I agree with you. He does pop off once or twice a year.
But
he's frustrated. I don't blame him. The guy cares. I want them to be frustrated when they lose to a bad team. Yes, I want them to be frustrated to that.
He also, though, he does remain consistent. He has been no nonsense since the day he got here.
Yes.
And has said that, like, since draft day, he has had that same attitude. And so it's hard to get mad at a guy when he does stay consistent like that.
I agree. But this one felt a little different to me. I mean, it was a shot across the bow at the organization. Mm-hmm. And he, of everybody, because they've asked him to take a lot of bullets for the organization and be a leader and try to, put the best foot forward as the face of the football team. And I was saying this a couple of years ago, guys, we need to separate what's going on one side of the building and what's going on the other. What's not to like about McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel, Allen, Chase, Montez? Like, you don't like those guys? Like, it's hard not to like those guys, right? And I think he had done a very good job kind of towing the line. This one felt surprising to me because things are changing. We're in transition. I get what he's saying, and I totally appreciate his frustration. I am too. I'm waiting for this thing to turn around too, and I was hoping that their purchase of this franchise would be sunny skies again, but it's not overnight.
Counterpoint, though, to all of this. Jon, every single time he's ever been asked about the off-the-field stuff, has always gone the route of, we're professionals, we need to perform on the field.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think when he said this...
Yes, I think he's been a very good no-nonsense spokesperson for this team, which is why I was a touch surprised at how pointed it was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's finally just saying, off-the-field stuff doesn't count here. On the field, we have sucked for 7 years, ever since he's gotten here.
Okay.
And I think
that's also no one's complaining about the off the field anymore or using it as an excuse.
Sure. Yeah, maybe. That could be it.
It's not anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it should be because, listen, I like what the new owners are doing. I think their presence just in itself, that it's not Daniel Snyder anymore, is just a big change.
Yeah.
And so that being out from under the team, it no longer is used as an anchor that's weighing it down.
Right.
Whether they end up being really good, successful owners or not, to be seen. But it's better than what it was by far, and it's going to be universally accepted that way until the honeymoon ends, whenever that day may come. And so maybe that is what it is, that he's realizing, I know what y'all are going to blame if we stink. You're going to blame that guy.
Right.
But I don't believe it's that guy. I believe it's us. And now he's just yelling out loud, I'm sick and tired of us not getting it done in here, regardless of who owns the team.
Yeah, right.
And from that perspective, I'll hear it out. I was just a touch surprised because when you say something like that, where you're like, I'm sick of this for 7 years, it's a lot of us are.
Well, I think too, like,
I'd like to see them be more successful too, especially 2 of the last 3 games. Teams with a collective 1 win beat them.
Yes.
That's one of them on their home field. In both cases, for at least a half in the Giants game and for about 3/4 in the Bears game, they were dominated by those teams. It wasn't even like, oh, we had a couple crazy plays or whatever. That score could have been way worse the other day. And the Bears score was exactly what it should have been at halftime. It was that bad.
Yeah, I think this one, I chalk it up to, it finally boiled over for him. That
Maybe.
Out of the last 2 out of the 3 weeks, the opponents, as you just mentioned, that they lost to, he's pissed off. And who could blame him? I mean,
a good team doesn't lose both of those.
Correct.
A good team has a one-off. It happens. I'm sure the Bills are scratching their heads today going, I know we have a thing with the Patriots, but I don't know how we lost this one.
Sure.
The way they're going, how did we lose to them? Right. And I'm sure they feel that way. But with Washington, the Bills have been on the precipice of winning for a while.
Yeah.
We haven't been there.
Right.
We're barely a playoff team, or we're just kind of hanging around. We haven't even taken that step of going, wow, that's an odd loss. We're sitting in the position of these happen to them.
Yes, correct.
Every year. And they end up getting in the way of them getting to the places they want to get to.
They always do.
Yeah.
I think every single year we say, well, they're going to be thinking about that one in December because they're going to miss the playoffs by a game or two.
Yeah.
Or at least be competitive up to that point. It never happens. So
it's
I think it was honestly Jon finally just boiling over what's happened on the field. Because I think you're right. You can use off the field as an excuse.
When you do say that, though, it does beg a question of, do you not want to be here? And I'm hoping that's not the case. Yeah. Because I don't want that to be the case. I think he's been a very good representative of the team for years. I think he's been a very, very good player, high-end player for the team for years. They do have him under contract. I don't care who the coach is. I think he should be part of the future of this team. And I'd like to see some success with him in the uniform because he just broke Dave Butts' record for most sacks by a defensive tackle in franchise history. I think he's been an outstanding representative. He's from here. Yeah. I'd love for him to be part of whatever the turnaround looks like. So, but when he said it, when he has said stuff in the past, he's gotten frustrated. It's never felt in any way that I don't appreciate wearing this uniform or don't want to be here. That one felt like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not what he meant by it. And I'm not trying to put any words in his mouth because all he said is what he said, which is I'm sick and tired of this. You know what? For 7 years, we've been going through this. You know what? Well, that's open to interpretation. And I hope he was just frustrated and mad that they lost to the Giants and that their record's 3-4 and that they see a season that's kind of slipping away and not because I'd rather take my career somewhere else, please.
Full tinfoil hat theory could also have just been, I've been here for 7 years, and all these decisions that are affecting us were made by Dan, including the coaching staff.
Could be.
Could be that, too.
I think he has a good relationship with Rivera. So I
probably
do.
Does. He's a captain.
Yeah, I think he does. So, again, that's why I was a little at the amount of frustration that came out. And then we won't play it, but the Ryan Clark breakdown of him in a do-rag, sunglasses, the whole look that he had going for it.
He doesn't have waves either. That's the funniest part of the whole thing.
It's amazing. I think Ryan Clark was yelling. Jon Allen is screaming, "I choose violence."
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh my God.
I will say on this too, I think you've been a part of enough locker rooms as well.
Yeah.
Because we've heard the complaints about Bieniemy, about how tough he is on the offensive side of the ball. When you are on the other side, it's not that you're on that unit, but you hear about it from your teammates, and you hear them bitching and complaining about it. Probably not in the locker room, but
it's funny. I haven't heard a lot. Maybe politically they're not pleased with Jack, but him as a coach or him as implementing what they want to implement. Yeah, there's some things that they would like them to do better collectively, differently, but that's normal.
Yeah.
Even after the Bears game, Chase came to the defense of Del Rio and was like, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
That was on us.
And so that's what I'm getting at here, though. Maybe that frustration is coming out of him because he's hearing about the offensive side of the ball. And
maybe
it's never healthy to do we only gave up 14 points, but maybe that's what he was alluding to. We couldn't stop them the first half. They still only scored twice. We can't score twice.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been maybe what he was getting at there,
could
too. Maybe it was an offensive complaint that for 7 years, I've been a part of a pretty good defensive line, and every year the offense has been terrible.
I mean, this is not the year for the defense to say a word, honestly, because they're bottom 5 in yards and bottom 3 in scoring defense.
Of course.
Which changed a little bit by giving up 14 last week and 30 over the last 2, which is great that's what the numbers are. But the yardage totals are outrageous this year. So, way different than they were. So, if that is what it is, I'm sick and tired of carrying the water for this whole team because it doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is, doesn't matter who the quarterback is,
right.
Doesn't matter how many great players we have. We can't do squat every time we get the ball. I'll hear that out too. I want to know what he meant.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping he didn't mean I'm sick and tired of it. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I hope he's just saying I'm sick and tired of it. Stop scoring 7 points against the Giants.
Right.
And if that's the case, cool.
Valid.
Cool.
Valid.
Oh, Jon Allen for Halloween costumes would be pretty good. That look was pretty good. Yeah, we're just a week away, guys.
No one would understand.
A few people would.
You see your boy,
Toothpick, Burgundy Blog, they'd get it.
You see your boy Motram released a shirt.
I'm sick of this.
I'm sick of this, but it's the Commanders' 2 lines above and below it. It looks great. Of course it does.
I'm sure he does. It looks better than all the NBA jerseys that have been put out. And I mean all of them.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
I'll take a quick break. I hadn't really paid a ton of attention to the details of Michigan's cheating scandal, but I started reading about it, and I'm starting to wonder, what is the big deal? We'll do that next. Right. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, so I had not really paid close attention other than just call Jim Harbaugh a cheater, because it's fun to say it when all this, new Spygate stuff came out about Michigan. And then I've just started to pay attention and actually read what the story is about. And let me read what happened. First of all, the guy who's in question that's stealing the signs, his name is Connor Stallions. What a great name.
Sounds like he works in a different industry.
Way different industry. Connor Stallions should be in Boogie Nights too.
You should not be able to Google that name.
Connor Stallions is, I think, the John C. Reilly character, actually. I think. Connor Stallions might be the Dirk Diggler. I mean, it might be.
Maybe.
Depends. It depends about his acting chops.
Right.
Connor Stallions is the suspended staffer in the sign stealing thing. Here's what he did. He purchased tickets in his own name for more than 30 games over the past 3 years at 11 different Big Ten schools, then traveled to the games, and then, had tickets on both sides of the field so he could be certain to be wherever he could face the signs.
Yep.
And he either used a phone or something else to record what the other team was doing during the game.
Yep.
What's the problem with this? Now, okay, before you answer that question, there is a rule that you're not allowed to do this.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
But, okay, so let's just say I went to, during the bye week, we're going to play the Rams, whatever, after the bye week. And I went to go see them. And I bought a ticket. And I videotaped their hand signals the whole time. And for some reason thought that would be cool to give to Ron Rivera. Do you know that I wouldn't literally be doing anything wrong? They're doing it in public, right?
Yeah,
I didn't go to their practice. They're doing it at the game.
I didn't want to bring it up this fast, but that's the difference. The NFL doesn't do hand signs because they have the headsets for both sides of the ball.
Well, actually, some teams do the stupid signs.
Yeah, they do that, but mostly that's just for a formation on either side of the ball. It's not the actual play.
Okay. This is, okay, if you are taping someone's practice, I'm all for you need to be shut down.
Sure, yeah.
Because that's ridiculous.
Right.
But to surveil something that's happening publicly, really? They did it publicly in front of 100,000 people.
The thing is, though,
what are you, quote unquote, stealing right now?
The thing is, though, certain teams also know where the cameras are, and they have the shades that go over. So you can't put together what they're actually signing and then line it up with the play because also the all-22 film is so far out you can't see it. So I can see here why certain teams have bugged out a little bit and tried to put their signs one way and you can't see it, or there's fake signs, honestly, is what happens too.
Boy, what's stopping you from when you play your next opponent from not using the same signs? Is there any rule against that? Why don't you change it up?
Could be. I mean, no, that absolutely could be.
In fact, to all the teams who are using the same signs 3 weeks later, you're idiots.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'd agree with
you do realize that on an all-22, you can see the sideline. And if you zoomed in enough, you could probably see the picture of Scott Van Pelt and a money chain and whatever you're using to signal whatever you want. And if you keep doing that repetitively, even I could figure that out.
That's what I'm getting at, though. Some teams actually have it so you can't see it on the sideline. They either have a cover over or they angle it in a certain way that only their defense could see.
Listen, I mean, like, I'm also going to go with Connor Stallions isn't the only person doing this.
Probably not.
What, like that other schools haven't thought, let's send somebody to the games and tape the signs and come back and show it? Because, as you might expect, all the games he went to were against an opponent 2 to 3 weeks later.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right.
I don't know. Like, when Spygate came out, I said the same thing. I'm like, if they were taping the Rams practice, well, we got a problem now. Right. Like, we got a real problem now. Like, I don't know how you got access to that. You shouldn't have. But if they're taping them, giving their signals on game day, that's in front of the public.
Right.
So what exactly are you stealing if you're doing it literally in public? So they figured your signs out. It's kind of on you. Don't you need to change your signs?
This is just going to be what we circle that gets all of the radio helmets in the college football.
Yes.
This is what
they're going to have to.
Yeah.
They haven't done it because it costs money. They don't spend any money.
Which
in the meantime, they all just changed all their conferences because they're all making a gazillion dollars.
And guess what?
When they say they're not making money, it's the biggest lie on the face of the earth.
And guess what's going to happen? They're going to get a sponsor to do it anyways. It's
probably.
It's not going to cost them anything.
I don't know. I get it. I guess you're not supposed to do this. I don't know, though. Like, I do not think it's high crimes and misdemeanors against Team Harbaugh. Like, if we find out that they were somehow taping Michigan State's practice, he needs to be fired.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
And never coach in the NCAA again.
Right.
But if all we found out is Connor Stallions showed up and was taping it with his phone at a game 3 weeks earlier, and they're stupid enough to run the same signs,
right?
That's kind of on Michigan State.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, quick programming note. We do have Game 7 of the NLCS tonight.
We do.
Phillies and Arizona. I'm surprised it's gotten to that. Actually, very surprised it's gotten to that. Arizona won last night.
Diamondbacks are, as I said to you, the first day of the playoffs, so after the wild card round, they are the Nats.
Yeah.
They're the Nats. They come back.
I think the Rangers might be the Nats. They won every road game in a series against the Astros and got to the World Series doing it.
They're, as Steven Strasburg would call, the buzzsaw. Yeah. You have to go through them. But the Diamondbacks are exactly who the Nats were when they won in 2019.
The Rangers lineup is silly.
Yeah, it's studs.
Silly, yeah.
Studs. But with the Diamondbacks, they come back in all these games. The whole country doesn't know who any of their players are.
Yeah.
They're the Nats from 2019. That's exactly who they are.
What time is coverage tonight?
7:30 start for the pregame, 8:07 first pitch.
8:07 from Club Mayhem in Philadelphia.
That's going to be a scene. I mean,
they're not going to be happy if they lose. There's some disappointed people.
We might get some.
We got to get Kincaid on this week. I hope they lose now. So I got something to talk about.
Text him for tomorrow, regardless.
I should text them for tomorrow. I will do that. I will take a quick break. Bram Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital.